It's not at all hard to see the complete and total clusterfuck that the modern social justice warrior has turned our universities into. These once proud icons of educational excellence are now just arenas for whiny, entitled liberal assholes to cry and complain about how terrible everything makes them feel because they don't get their way. They have to be constantly comforted because reality isn't the wonderful utopia they desperately wish that it was, and this is a critical disappointment that leaves them with crippling depression about the world around them. So what do these special snowflakes do? They take to the streets of these institutions of higher learning, which incidentally are paid for entirely by mommy or daddy, or increasingly by the taxpayers of the United States of America, and scream about how unfair it all is, throwing a hissy fit because they're just not being catered to in every conceivable way.
Black Lives Matter! 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 Black Lives Matter!
But what's worse, it isn't enough that they get to go have their social justice wine fests. Now they're complaining that education is getting in the way of their social justice warrioring. Are these people fucking stupid? Student activists at Brown University are complaining of emotional stress and poor grades after months of protesting and blame the school for insisting that they complete their coursework. There are people breaking down, dropping out of classes and failing classes because of the activism work they're taking on, an undergraduate student going by the pseudonym David told the Brown Daily Herald Thursday. My grades dropped dramatically. My health completely changed. I lost weight. I'm on antidepressants and anti-anxiety pills right now. Counselors called me. I had deans calling me to make sure I was okay. Well, you poor little precious babies. Let me let you in on a little secret. The whole reason people are paying tons of money for you to attend these bastions of higher education is not for you to go marching for injustice. It's so you can get an education, so you can learn some useful skills, so you can get a job and become a productive member of society. You're not there to protest. You're not there to complain. You are not there to get drunk or get laid or any of the other extracurricular garbage that lots of college-age kids engage in. You are there to learn. If you want to go protest perceived inequality, do it when you're done with your homework. Do it after you've ensured you're getting good grades. If you're not learning anything useful, you got no damn time to go marching around campus. Your priorities are completely out of whack. David and other students began demonstrating on campus in October to protest two opinion columns published in the Daily Herald that some students deemed racist because they defended the celebration of Columbus Day. Black and Asian student groups reacted by demanding that the paper not only retract and apologize for the op-eds, but also develop a plan for increasing the diversity of its staff, subject to approval by the activists. This is a complete misunderstanding of the role and position of the student on campus. They are not in charge. They are not in control. They don't get to make the rules. Unfortunately, there's a lot of colleges out there that are doing a serious disservice to the students by allowing any of this crap to go on. These kids are in for a serious shock when they get out into the real world. If you try any of this nonsense with your employer, you're going to end up on your ass in the street, and for good reason. These kids are not in charge. That's something they have to learn. They can't just demand it. Sure, they have a right to free speech. They can express their disagreement with any policy the university might have, and if they really don't like it, they're more than welcome to go elsewhere. But to demand that they get to write the rules and approve everything? Fuck 'em. Fuck 'em right up the ass. These kids need a serious kick in the butt. This is where a serious failure of parenting has taken place, and these schools are doing them no favors by allowing them to continue in their misunderstanding of their place in the world. David, who spent many hours helping to organize the demonstrations, claims he reached out to both counseling and psychological services and his academic deans for support, but told the Daily Herald that the therapy and dean's notes requesting extended deadlines on his assignments were little more than bandages for the stress of balancing his activism with existing obligations to school, work, and friends. No, your only obligation is to your education. That's it. Anything else you do, whether you have a job, whether you have friends and a social life, that's entirely secondary. And whatever protesting you choose to do, that's even further down the line. It's less important whether you like it or not. Stop being a social justice douchebag and get your ass to class. Or they could just expel you because you don't meet the expectations, and you can spend all your time whining about the cause while you live on the streets. That works too. Justice Gaines, an undergraduate student who uses the pronouns Z, Zim, and Zir, even recounted suffering what Z describes as a panic attack related to Zir emotions over the Daily Herald op-eds, adding that Z couldn't go to class for several days following the episode. Well, give me a fucking break. Stop being an idiot. I've got another video coming up in a couple days that's going to kind of go into this, but I think this illustrates the biggest culprit for all of this social justice bullshit. Those ridiculous liberal programs, the gender studies classes, those things that don't do a damn thing to get you ready for the real world, that don't prepare you for a job. They just fill your head with a bunch of liberal garbage taught by teachers who don't have to live and work in the real world because they've got tenure. It's where you get idiots like Melissa Click, the University of Missouri assistant professor who was recently and thankfully fired for being a social justice cunt, cussing out the police and violating freedom of the press.
Well, hi, media. Can I talk to you?
No, you need to get out.
Well,
you need to get out.
No, I don't.
You need to get out.
I actually don't.
All right. Hey, who wants to help me get this reporter out of here? I need some muscle over here.
Yeah, I know. Constitutional freedoms only matter to the left when it's their constitutional freedoms. Anybody who gets in the way of their social justice cakewalk, well, they have no rights at all. Liliana Sampedro, one of the students who compiled the diversity ultimatum, argued that refusal to grant such accommodations has systemic effects on students of color, who, she said, may sometimes feel obligated to prioritize their activist work over their studies. I remember emailing the professor and begging her to put things off another week. I hadn't eaten, I hadn't slept, I was exhausted, physically and emotionally, Sampedro recalled. The professor nonetheless insisted that she submit a previously assigned research presentation on time, which she claimed forced her to stay up late to finish the project after having already spent hours working on her list of demands. Well, that's a choice they make, and choices have consequences. You can either work, or you can go have fun. If you don't work, you don't get paid. If you don't get paid, you don't eat. Make the right decision. You can either get an education so you can get a good job, or you can spend all your time protesting. One has a positive outcome, the other does not. Make the right decision. It's a large part of what being an adult is. You are all adults. You should have learned this a long time ago. If you didn't, your parents failed your ass. Take it up with them. You should have been prepared, and if you weren't, you need to learn these lessons right now. You have no one to blame but yourself for making bad decisions. Stop protesting, take worthwhile classes, learn something, get out of school, get a job, and make something useful of yourself. Maybe once you hit the real world and realize it isn't the idealistic fantasy you wish it was, maybe you'll learn just how ridiculous all this liberal social justice bullshit actually is. Grow the fuck up. Thanks for listening. So what do you think? Please comment below and make sure to click on the like button and subscribe to the channel while you're down there so you don't miss anything I've got coming up. I try to put up a new video every couple of days on a variety of subjects. You never really know what's coming down the pike. And make sure you tell people about the channel too. I do appreciate all of my fans because ranting to myself is really no fun at all. So until next time, adjust your priorities. Don't be stupid. It keeps you from acting like an entitled putz without a clue. And let's be honest, you ought to be a lot better than that.